If you missed the first half of this interview, then you can still watch it afterwards, and this will still make sense. I'm interviewing Ilys, who was born in France, learned English in her teens, and only when in her 20s set out to learn Norwegian, because she felt almost as though she was Norwegian and didn't speak her own native language. As a result, her strategy to learn it was just to follow her instincts, which turned out to be really good. Throughout the entire interview, I'll be putting a lot of the specific things she did in these bullet points here so that you've got the context for the conversation we're having. Remember, there are currently Black Friday deals on tons of language learning courses from StoryLearning. There are 2 links in the description for those. One takes you to where you can choose any course in any language and you get a very good deal, and the other takes you to where you can get all the courses in every language, which I normally don't bother mentioning for obvious reasons, but the price is even lower this year than it's ever been before, so I thought I'd mention it this time. So check those out and enjoy the interview. Ilys and I kick off this half of the interview talking about what it's like for people like us who only ever pursue one interest at full throttle, and how we can rein in that desire and settle for making more ordinary progress on things like languages or other interests. I am currently going through a stage of like rethinking what goals mean and why we have them and stuff, as someone who's the same as you, who's like, that's impossible, let's do it.
It's actually really interesting because I'm going through exactly the same. I'm like, would like to start something new. Like, I love to dance. Mm-hmm. I'm terrible at dancing. You can't understand. Like, I have no sense of rhythm. My body just moves. Like, I'm bad. But I really love it. Like, I think it looks really good when I watch videos of people dance and stuff.
Yep.
And I'm like, now you need to grow up and you need to do things that you know you're bad at. And because since, like, you need to start something that you know you're not going to get good at. And it's fine. It's really hard because I love, like you said, like getting into something 100%. And even if I know that I'm really bad now, do you know that I kind of have the potential to become good? I don't need to be the best, but like to become good. Like, and I know that with dancing, it wouldn't be, well, maybe yeah, I still hope in my head. I think it's stupid because I won't get really good, but yeah, I think it's really good.
It's different in different fields because like with dancing, there are like world-class dancers, you know, ballet dancers and people who like go to competitions and stuff. But as a general thing, like you can be you can go to weddings, for example, and be like the best dancer in the room. and
you're right.
You could do that a lot.
It's less like artistic. It's more like you're good or you're bad. When dancing is still like free for someone to think you're good, even if you're actually not that good.
Yeah.
When baseball is really like, yeah, I know that's true. I agree with you.
Well, like the thing I struggle with baseball is that, like, and I haven't even started playing yet because we're in the wrong season for it in Australia. Probably going to play next year, but it's like the thing I struggle with is like I'm not even going to be good enough to play in a league that people even take seriously. So like, even if I got like twice, like quite good, it would just look like, dude, you're taking this too seriously. No one here actually cares. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, but
I think it's really nice and impressive that you're trying to be like, okay, I'm gonna get over myself and not try to get really good at something. I'm just gonna do it because I think it's fun. I think it's really not. It's really good. I think it's really healthy.
I'm actually dabbling, like sort of flirting with the idea of a new language at the moment. Because that's that's a really good thing about languages, and I'll ask you about this in a second. A really cool thing about languages is that if you're just like generally into languages and you don't mind not being like really, really good at one of them, then you can, every time you start getting a bit bored of it, you can like take up a different one. If you get bored of it every few years, then you can just speak like a couple to a decent level, like not to your level of Norwegian. I want to ask you about that because you've got keys to the door that very few people have the keys to, which is like, you know how to, if you really want, like if you really, really want to do, and that's a big if, but
yes.
If you really wanted to, you could become like super good, like C2 at pretty much any language that you put your mind to. And I think I already know the answer, but how do you feel about that?
Yeah, first of all, I have no idea how I would do at learning a language that is not structured the same way as the one I learned so far. I learned 2 languages, which is English and Norwegian, which are really close, built the same way. I'm French, so I spoke a language with like this alphabet and stuff. I have no idea how I would do like learning Arabic or something like this, which I would really love to learn. But it's like different alphabet, different like way of writing, I guess, and like, or Japanese or something. I think it's like totally different, and the way of learning those languages might as well require more structure. I don't know, but I would think it would be different. But then again, like I think that I don't know if I'm passionate about learning languages or if I'm passionate about learning Norwegian, you know?
Yeah.
So I think
5, keep a journal in the language, and if that sounds really hard because you don't know enough words, Ilys recommends just using some kind of automatic translator like Google Translate or ChatGPT to look up the things you don't know. It's not always going to be perfect. We understand that. You're keeping a journal to get a feel for the words. These aren't sentences to memorize because you're going to need to say them lots. It's just a feel for the words. That's what she recommends.
I think with Norwegian, it was really like a love story, kind of. Like you just feel home in the country, feel like it's your country. You need to learn, not need, you want to learn the language. The reason why I wanted to be, a lot of people are like, why did you want to be like, speak like a native person or like speak, I'm just like, I feel like I am native Norwegian, so I need to learn native Norwegian, of course. It's like, so that's kind of like, I don't think that I would have that goal with any other language. If I were to learn like Arabic, for example, I think that I would want to learn it, like what you said, like to a decent level to be able to communicate with people. And I wouldn't be as much of a freak to be like, I need to be native. Like I don't think I would have that with any other language. And I get this question sometimes, like, do you want to learn a new language? And I don't think so. I don't know. I bought a book like 2 weeks ago to learn Arabic. I think it's really hard because you need to choose like from which country you need to learn, like you want to learn the language, and it's kind of like hard. But I was volunteering the first year I came to Norway, and we were like helping families that came to Norway like because of war or because of like a lot of different reasons to like get integrated in Norway, and we're helping the kids, and the parents didn't speak English, so they only spoke Arabic. And I remember I was like, so stupid that I don't speak their language, because I would love to be able to speak with them, even if I say all wrong, like as long as they understand me. I think it would be so cool to be able to like speak a bit with them. So maybe I'm gonna learn, like I think I would like to do how I do with a language that's different, completely different from those I know.
Yeah.
Which I think Arabic is. So maybe I would do that, but I wouldn't. I think I would get into something completely different. Like now I got into teaching, and this is my new thing. Like teaching, finding methods for people to get good, finding methods that fit what I did so that it's a bit more interesting. I think that methods that already exist, but still that fit many people, and they're not as extreme as what I did. And I'm constantly thinking about it, like all the time. What can I do? Writing books. I started writing like maybe 5 books, and so I think that's my new thing. And I don't think that my new thing would be something related with another language, at least not for now. But just with a passion that would not be related to languages, or not to another one.
Yes, I understand. Essentially, what you did with Norwegian would work with Arabic and Japanese or anything like that. It's with I'll leave Japanese and Mandarin and the character languages aside for a second and just talk about Arabic, because it's still an alphabet. I think it's 33 letters, and that's like when the letters come together, they actually start being shaped a bit differently and stuff. But it's in the end, it's not really more complicated than French or English.
If I got that motivated about it, I could do it, but I don't think I will. That's the thing. So I will have to find another way of doing it, because I will not have the same motivation as much of a big motivation, I think. But definitely, if you get like passionate about it, I guess like you could learn it any way. I think like any way that works for you is right. But
so to go back to and maybe you answered this with the dancing thing, it's like, do you think you could ever feel like you did about Norwegian in 2016 about anything else? So in 2016 through to what now still, You've just
No, I
been...
started learning Norwegian in 2019.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
You first went to Norway in 2016.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I've been dating my boyfriend since then, but then I didn't learn Norwegian, or I know how to say like thanks and I love you, but like that was it, kind of.
Wow. So for 3 years, you actually didn't study Norwegian.
No, 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 no. Yeah, no. I started. So I was because I was living in France and I went to high school still, and I didn't plan. I loved Norway and I still felt like it was my home, so but I didn't start learning it. No, no. I started in 2019,
Okay.
and then I a year later, a year and a half later. Yeah.
Oh, right. Wow. That's kind of fast then. It's really fast, obviously. I mean, you talked about that with the 5 hours a day thing, but like even to now, like your level now, that what, is that 5 years?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. 6. Read books. And yes, this is difficult in a new language, but Ilys talks about opening a book and just finding some of the words that she knew and finding that very motivating. You will be able to find words that you know in a book, like the most common words, they will be there. If you want to then find some of the other words, go and look them up and work out what they mean. Great, that's perfect. That's how we all learned to read anyway. 7. Listen to audiobooks. Please don't tell me that I need to say this again. Audiobooks are the best. Get them. If you can, get the book as well and read along at the same time. I call this scuba diving. It's incredible. Do it.
Then again, I think that my Norwegian is not good enough also, Like
Okay,
I
yeah.
always, I hear like, I'm like, yesterday I was like walking, I was like, Edis, you need to get better. Like, what are you doing? Like, there's, that thing like where with structures and stuff like this, I'm just like, I need to speak better. Like, I need to get better. So I don't think I'm on the top either.
Mhm.
I'm like, I'm really good. I'm really good, but I could definitely get better. But it's about the same as English, Like I could get better in English. I could
Yeah.
get better French. It's always, you can always get better.
Yeah,
I
but
like
you don't. But
the-
the difference is you don't really care about either of those as much, do you?
yeah.
Have you been to other places? I guess Sweden and Denmark don't count. Places where you can't use either French or Norwegian.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I've been to Italy quite a lot, like many times because I have friends there. I guess like it's really close to French, but you cannot speak French to people.
No.
Like they wouldn't understand.
So you're speaking English though.
So I would speak English.
Yep.
Yeah.
How does that feel for you now that this is after you've moved to Norway? Yeah.
Yeah. It was now in March. It's really uncomfortable. Like I remember being like, I thought I understood everything wherever I was. And I was just like, I don't understand shit. Like the things, the train stuff, I was like, what does it mean? People speak a language, and I felt like an outsider. It was really weird, which I haven't felt for a long time. Also, when I went back to Canada to visit, felt home there, and I was just like, it's crazy. Like I'm always in a kind of comfort zone. Also, just because I made my comfort zone, like things that were not comfortable. But when I was in Italy, I was just like, if I were to stay here 2 months, I would learn Italian the way I learn Norwegian. Like I bought a book, actually, a children's book. I was like, I'm gonna learn Italian. Like I need to. It's frustrating. Also, a lot of people don't speak English well enough to have a conversation. So I was just like, Italian is not that far from French. It was so frustrating, frustrating, and it made me want to learn the language. So if I were to live in another country, I definitely would learn the language.
Yes. Yeah. I'm so with you on that. So I asked that because 4 days after I got to Sweden, I actually went to Estonia. And maybe it's probably partially because I just left Sweden, where I was like, everything looks so different, but also I understand it. This is so cool. And then I go to Estonia. I'm like, what is going on with that sign? Like, what is like, epätotek? Like, what? That doesn't mean anything. And like, it just, even just walking into shops in like touristy parts of Estonia too. I wouldn't say that any of Estonia is like really touristy, but like the places where they're going to expect tourists and they speak English. But even just having to start with like, oh, I'm not Estonian. We're just going to do this in English. And they're like, yeah, sure, it's fine. But I don't even like that. I don't like that feeling. I would rather
Yeah.
just speak Estonian. And if I were going there for like even, I think if I knew I was coming up to like a 10-day trip, I would just go crazy on Estonian. 8. Watch series and movies and repeat watch series and movies. That is, watch the same series and movies again. 9. Write stories using the words that you know and the words that you're learning. Get native speakers to check them, correct them, and when they send you the corrections, read those stories many, many times, and then read them again, and then repeat that. And then if it sounds like I'm getting repetitive, you get the point.
I thought about it. Why is it so difficult to learn Norwegian when English is so easy? And I think one of the things is that English is such, like, there's probably in the world more people who speak English who are not native than people who speak English who are native. I don't know if it's true, but like,
there are, yeah, definitely.
okay, yeah. So, which is not the case for any other language. So when you're learning English, even if you're not native, you're part of a group. Like you're, the people who are not native and who learn English.
Yeah.
But when you're learning another language or such a small language as Norwegian, you're just an outsider if you don't speak well. Oh, that's maybe like the feeling. So it's more scary to speak Norwegian because it's expected of you, or it can feel like it's expected of you to speak like really, really well. When English, it's like accepted that people just speak English. They just do what they can to like, so that people understand them. And I think at least that's what I feel for me, that English, when I speak to, at least when I don't speak to a native speaker, it's just like we're on the same team, It's just we're making mistakes. It's fine. None of us can like have the pretension to say like, oh, I know,
Yeah.
But with you're going to speak mostly with Norwegian people, and then you're not equal because it's their language. So it becomes a bit more scary. I don't know if it's, for me at least, it's like this.
10. Learn sentences by heart so that you're saying them in your sleep. If you've been doing enough repeating of reading and listening material, this should happen anyway, but if it's not, learn sentences by heart. Number 11. Speak to yourself in the language, and while you're doing it, try to imagine that you are the best speaker of this language in the world. Now, this is an Ilys original. I've never thought of this myself. And she says that it's about the daring to do the accent, because if you imagine that you're the best speaker of that language in the world, then you won't mind really daring to really make the best possible accent that you can. And she's pointing out that for a lot of us, accent is not about raw ability, but rather about our not wanting to dare to do that.
I was really scared, for example, to speak with my boyfriend, which is stupid, like, but I wouldn't be able to speak with him. I would cry. I would just be like sitting there and be like, I want to speak Norwegian with you, but I would just start crying because I cannot, because it's so weird when we speak English, we're like meeting halfway and suddenly I'm speaking Norwegian and it's all on your side, you know, like suddenly I'm a 5-year-old and you're 100% you. So instead of us being both like maybe 80% ourselves, I'm being 10% myself and you're being 100% yourself. And it's so scary. It was so scary for me. Even if I spoke well, like objectively, people that I spoke with were like, it's crazy. We've lived here for 2 months. You speak so well. But with him that knew me from before, I was just like, so scary. So scary.
Wow. Yeah. I never, like, in theory, I should have that feeling myself because I don't like not being good at things. But somehow I think the cognitive knowledge, like the conscious knowledge that I should not be expected to be good at this, like helps me to just be like, like if I were to speak French, actually, if I were to try to speak French to you now, I would be much more worried about the fact that the camera is recording. And like if I were going to put it on YouTube, which I would not, but like I would be more worried about that than what you think, because I feel like, Ilys knows that I don't speak French or that I don't speak it very well. So like, so it doesn't really bother me, but that's...
I think for me, I put a lot of pressure on myself because I expected so much, like in France, when I came back from Canada, I didn't feel home. Like I didn't feel well in France then. I was mad at France, mad at the system, mad at why it made me feel so bad. Like I wasn't doing good. And Norway was my safe place. Like when I went there, it was just like breathing, you know? Like I went there for holiday, it was like I can like take like energy from there and then go back to like high school in France where I have to be. And then I come back soon and I get my energy again. And I think that the fact that Norway had like such a deep, like dear place in my heart, I think I put a lot of pressure on myself being like, I need to fit there. Because if I don't fit there, then I don't fit anywhere, you know? If I can't speak the language that I should be speaking to fit here, according to me, it's only my head, then I don't belong. And then I don't belong anywhere. And then we have a problem because, you know, and I think that went as far as this. And that's, I think it's going to go away. Like the more years I live here, also now I feel a lot better with myself. I have like put France and Norway at the same level. Like love France for some things. And Norway, I realized, oh yeah, like it's nice, but like this, maybe I don't like that much. And then, you know, I kind of like, it's kind of like being in love, you know, you're in love the first year and then you're like, oh yeah, you're good, but you're like still have bad sides. And then that other person that I didn't like before, they were actually that bad, you know. It's like kind of did this with France and Norway for me.
Yes.
I still wouldn't want to live in France. I want to live here, but yeah. So I think me speaking well Norwegian meant something way bigger for me.
Yeah, that's a lot. Where can people find you if you want people to find you?
People can find me both on Instagram and on YouTube, but on Instagram I have a lot more. But I will post more on YouTube, so I guess like both Instagram and YouTube.
Yes. Yeah.
It depends on what content I like to watch, I guess.
Number 12, this sounds really obvious, but don't give up. Remember, videos are a natural compressor of time. I used to think that my Swedish had not improved at all since 2020 because I feel roughly the same. But when I go back and look at my Swedish from 2020, it's so bad compared to now. You do get better. It's just almost impossible to perceive over that period of time. If it takes 5 years, you're getting better in that time. Don't give up. Thank you so much. I've taken so much of your time. It was awesome to chat, and we could have chatted for another 5 hours, so let's not do that.
Bye bye, ha det bra!
Ha det bra, tack.